Hello, and welcome to the Successful Sales Negotiator. As a sales professional, you will be told on a regular basis that you have to lower your price. You will be told you're too expensive, we can't afford it, or we don't have that much money in the budget. This program is designed to make sure that you achieve premium prices for your products and services. As a sales professional, it is your job not only to sell your company's products, but to do it in a way that makes your customers happy, your directors and shareholders happy, makes a profit for your department, increases your earnings, increases your standing, and accelerates your career as a sales professional. My name is Mike Laput, and my job during this program is to give you the skills to become a truly successful sales negotiator. Did you know that negotiated money is the fastest money you'll ever make or lose? Imagine this. If you saw an ad in the paper that read, "Salesperson wanted to earn £10,000 a second," would you think that was good money? I believe you would. But would you believe that anybody could really earn £10,000 a second? Probably not. And yet it happens all the time. Here's an example. A friend of mine had always wanted to live in a special part of town. And when he heard that a house was coming on the market, he decided to approach the owner direct and pointed out that if they negotiated without an agent, there would be savings for both parties. They had a number of meetings. There was an asking price, an offer, a counter-offer, and they were nearing conclusion. The owner said, "My rock-bottom price is $380,000. My friend was silent for a while, then looked the owner in the eye and said, $370. Put out his hand, and the owner shook it. The deal was done. Now, how long did it take my friend to say $370? It takes about 1 second. He made £10,000 in 1 second. Because money saved is money made. And negotiated money is the fastest money you will ever make or lose. Because, of course, the owner lost it as fast as my friend made it. By the way, my friend may have made more than £10,000. If he's going to mortgage that property over 25 years, then the $10,000 could be $15,000, $20,000, $25,000 over the period depending on the interest rates. Which, of course, leads us to the long-term value and implications of the deals you do. If you sell your product at £9 instead of £10, it looks like you've only given a £1 discount, which of course you have if this is a one-off sale. But if the person that buys it buys high volumes over a long period of years, that £1 may represent millions. And it may have happened in a second. So the message here is negotiated money is the fastest money you will ever make or lose. Now here's a question for you. If you make 20% gross profit and you sell at list price and your turnover is £1 million, you then decide to give away 10% discount on everything. How much more turnover do you have to do just to stand still in terms of profit? Well, the answer is you're going to have to go from 1 million turnover to 2 million turnover just to stand still. That's twice as many inquiries, twice as many appointments, twice as many quotations, twice as many demonstrations, twice as much work just to stand still. Now, of course, if you stick out for your list price and lose the deal, then you got 100% and nothing. So there's a balancing act here. But let's look at some facts. Fact: most markets are price sensitive. Fact: Buyers are trained to get your price down. I know that buyers are trained to take a sharp intake of breath. And I've seen that work where the buyer says, how much is it? Whatever price the salesperson gives, the buyer goes, and the salesperson lowers the price. They're trained to get your price down. Fact, it's your job to protect your company's margins. Fact, whatever price you are, you're going to find somebody who wants to buy it cheaper. Fact, if you think you're expensive, then you are, because you'll transmit that message via your voice, tone, intonation, and body language. Fact, you'll never be the cheapest. They'll always find somebody cheaper. If you're selling new, they'll find a cheaper new one. If you're selling used, they'll find a cheaper used one. Fact, people don't always buy the cheapest. If people only ever bought the cheapest TV set, how many manufacturers would there be? Well, the answer is one, and there are thousands. If people only ever bought the cheapest watch, car, computer, microwave, how many manufacturers would there be? Well, the answer is there would only be one of each. People don't just buy on price. Your job is to focus on what it's worth, not what it costs. If you differentiate yourself on price and you use price as your competitive advantage, then when you meet a competitor that's cheaper, you'll have no argument. And of course, your customers will do what you've been telling them to do. Buy the cheapest. Many salespeople are tempted to open up with an already discounted price. Remember, the more you discount, the harder you're going to have to work to make the same amount of profit. Here are 6 good reasons why you should go in high. Number 1, you might just get it. And you need high margin deals to see you over the ones with the big discounts. Number 2, you can always come down, but it's harder to go up. But note, not impossible. Number 3, it leaves room for maneuver. Number 4, it avoids conflicting egos. Number 5, it creates an atmosphere where they can win and you don't lose. And number 6, it raises the perceived value of your product. Higher priced products and services are always perceived to be of higher quality. So, if you're not going to go in at your lowest price, how high can you open? Well, the answer is you can open as high as you can defend. So long as you can answer the question, how do you justify that? Then you can go in as high as you like. So let's look at price justification. The first person you have to justify the price to is yourself. If you think it's too expensive, you'll never be able to justify it to anybody else. This is, without a doubt, the biggest of all price barriers. If you think your product is too expensive, then let's look at some of the facts. If no one has ever been persuaded to buy this product or service at this price, then you're probably right, it's probably too expensive. But if your company has sold tens, hundreds, thousands, or millions worldwide, then it's not the price. If your competitors are selling equivalent products at equivalent prices, it's not the price. If other salespeople in your company are selling the same product and service at higher prices, then you know it can be done. If they can do it, you can do it. Now all you have to do is to justify it to the buyer. And my job is to help you do that. If you've listened to my audio programs, How to Sell, 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 Dial Success, and the Success Formula, you will know that success has more to do with what's going on in the mind of the salesperson than anything else. Get it right in your own mind that the price you're charging for this product and service is a fair price, considering the market, the quality, the competition, and the customer's situation. Remember, the salespeople who anticipate the biggest problems with price are the ones that get the biggest problems with price. I often work with sales managers and directors in this area. And when we do the analysis, the trends show that some salespeople consistently get good margins and others consistently get low margins. Some salespeople, of course, even manage to sell at a loss. And yet they're selling the same product at the same list price in the same market against the same competition. This means that the price resistance is in the mind of the salesperson and not in the market. They lose so many orders on price that they believe that price is the only criteria. They resign themselves to the fact that there's no point in going through the sales process. They say, why bother to build a rapport with a prospect? Why bother to identify needs, build desire, give powerful, benefit-focused presentations? Why bother to talk past the sale, and why bother to close on benefits when if after all of that work, they're only going to buy the cheapest anyway? This approach leads to eroding the sales process, eroding the profitability of the company, and eroding the self-esteem of the salesperson. The solution? Go back to basics. Do the right things. Sell the product. And don't negotiate until sold. This means wait until the prospect is sold on the product, sold on the fact that it will improve their lifestyle or bottom line, sold on the benefits, sold on the fact they need it, sold on the fact that they're going to buy, sold on the fact that they're going to buy from you. Do that before you even consider changing price. In fact, if you do that and you do it well, you probably won't have to change your price at all. But what about price justification against strong competition? Many poor salespeople have discounted because they suspected they were up against strong competition. Don't confuse fact with opinion. Find out who else is involved, find out what alternatives have been considered, and know your enemy. You should not only have excellent product knowledge about your own products and services, but you should know the competition inside out. If your selling price is 10 and the competition is 9, then you don't have to justify 10. You only have to justify the difference between 9 and 10, which is 1. Now you have to sell the difference, and in order to do that, you need to know what the difference is. Find out who your competitors are, and then find the value added in your products and services that justify the difference. Before going into a negotiation, you should have decided your pricing strategy. Many negotiators will advise a maximum price, the highest you can defend, your minimum price, below which you will not go, and your acceptable, which you would be happy to walk away with. Be careful with the minimum. You need to recognize this in all its forms. For instance, if you want 10, you could go down to 8 and you'll accept 9, and you walk away with 10, you may think you've done a great deal. When in fact, although you did get 10, hidden behind that, you gave away free delivery, free installation, free operator training, free inspection, extended credit, and if you had have costed all of these items, your walkaway price may have been as low as 5. And what you thought was a good deal may in fact be a loss maker. Now, I'm not saying that we'll never use these items in a negotiation. In fact, we will come back to them later. What I'm saying is that there is a real cost in doing free delivery, free installation, extended credit, etc. And you should know two things: what the costs are to you and what they're worth to the prospect. From time to time, I'm going to ask you to pause the program and do some written exercises. It's important that you take the time to do these, because they will improve your understanding, improve your application, and accelerate your success. If you're driving, listen to the whole program and do the written exercises later. Okay, here's the first exercise. The things you could give away are called variables. I've already mentioned some in the form of discounts, free delivery, etc. The question is, what variables do you have? What are the costs to you, and what are they worth to your prospect? Pause the program and do that exercise now. Return to the program when you're ready. Okay, let's carry on. Here's another good question for you, and one that I've been asked a number of times. The question is, how do you negotiate good deals? Well, the answer is, make sure you have lots of deals to choose from. One of the powers in negotiating is the power of complacency. And of course, the buyer will always apply this to you and say, "Do you know, I'm amazed at how many people are in your business. It must be extremely competitive." What's he doing? He's saying to you, "I've got lots of deals to choose from." Imagine this situation. You've decided to buy a new house, but you haven't sold yours yet. But you want the other one so much that you decide to take out a bridging loan to finance the new house pending the sale of yours. Now, your asking price is a figure of 10. We're 2 or 3 months down the road. You've had little or no interest and certainly no buyer. The bank's getting twitchy and they're starting to send you letters. Now they've demanded a face-to-face meeting and they're talking about withdrawing the finance. You're in trouble. The doorbell rings and the caller says, "Hello, I see your house is up for sale. How much is it?" You get very excited and you say, 10. He says, "Well, it's probably worth it, but I've only got 9. It is in cash, though. What do you think?" Well, what do you think? I think you're under both time and financial pressure, and I suspect that you'll probably take the deal, although it's not a very good deal. Imagine this situation, though. You put your house up for sale. Next morning, when you look out of the window, there's a queue of people starting at your door, going down the drive, down the road, round the corner, and all of these people want to buy your home. You open the door. Your asking price is 10. The first person says, "I'll give you 9. You say, "Next." Next person says, "I'll give you 10. Next. I'll give you 10.5. Next." What am I talking about here? I'm talking about the simple law of supply and demand. If you only have one deal on the table, you're going to have to take it at any price. Imagine if you've only got one deal on the table, you haven't sold anything for a while, you've got a meeting with your sales manager tomorrow morning, you're sitting with a prospect this afternoon, and the prospect says it's too expensive. You're in danger of saying, "How much do you want to pay?" Remember this. When you're in sales, you're in production. You have an order production line. You have prospecting going on at one end and orders coming off the other. The more you feed the production line with prospecting and sales appointments, the more deals you will have on the table, and the more you will be a successful sales negotiator, because you won't have to take the silly deals in order to make target. Your negotiating strength is also affected by your time of entry. We know that the sales cycle goes something like this. prospecting, appointments, quotations, demonstrations and orders. But the buying cycle is different. The buying cycle starts when the potential buyer identifies a problem or an opportunity. They then identify their needs, explore the possibilities, determine the specification, go out for prices. Put together a shortlist, negotiate, place an order, live with the decision, and the whole cycle starts all over again when another problem or opportunity comes up. I ran some sales training for a company supplying capital equipment into hospitals and local authorities. As part of my training needs analysis, I asked, "How do your people know who to sell to?" The sales director said, "Well, it's a small market, Mike, and we're on everybody's tender list and we're involved in every tender." My next question was, if you're involved in every tender, why aren't you hitting sales target? His answer was, "It's difficult to meet the specifications sometimes and we always seem to be out on price." The problem here is that the time of entry is wrong. The weakest time to enter is to get involved only when you receive an invitation to put prices down. Why? Well, because the buyer has passed through too many stages without your involvement. He or she has identified the problem or opportunity, identified the needs, explored the possible solutions, and determined the specification before you get invited. The strongest point of entry is to be proactive. Get out in the marketplace. Identify the problems and the opportunities for your buyers and customers before they see them coming. Help them clearly identify the need. Help them explore the options. Help them determine the specification. If you do that, then you may be so close to these people that they won't even go out and you'll get the business without competition being involved. If they do go out, then you will have helped them determine the specification, and the specification will be written around your products and services. That way the competition is compared to you instead of you being compared to them. And because your competitors are coming in late, they are up against time pressure to match your specification and prices. The earlier you get involved, the stronger position you're in. And of course, you are then the lowest risk. And given the choice between lowest price and lowest risk, people prefer to take the lowest risk. Pause the program now and look at the deals that you're involved in and ask yourself, are you getting involved early enough? And if not, what should you do to change? Return to the program when you're ready. In a successful negotiation, who wins? There are 4 types of negotiation: win-lose, lose-win, lose-lose, and win-win. Win-lose is when the salesperson wins and the buyer loses. The buyer is now left with buyer's remorse and may not want to come back for more, and will also be reluctant to recommend our products and services to other people. Lose-win is when the salesperson loses, the buyer wins, and our profits are eroded. Lose-lose is where there is no deal, or both parties come away dissatisfied with the result. Win-win is when both parties are happy with what's been negotiated, are happy to fulfill the terms of the negotiation, and the buyer is happy to recommend the salesperson. And remember, the best form of advertising is personal recommendation, because you'll be perceived as the lowest risk. Win-win is the best type of negotiation for you to build your career on. That way, you're happy, your customers are happy, your directors are happy, and you will be a truly successful sales negotiator. Remember, the purpose of negotiating is to reach agreement. Your job is to get the order and get the agreement. but to do it in such a way that both parties want to honour the agreement. Your job is to negotiate a win-win deal. What I would like you to do now is to think of a negotiating situation that you're likely to find yourself in. I'd then like you to write down everything that the buyer is likely to want and everything that you would want. Do this now and return to the program when you're ready. Okay, having done that, now I would like you to write down what you believe would be the details of your ideal win-win deal. What would that agreement look like? Write it out now. Okay, now as a professional salesperson, you'll know that people only buy benefits. So what are the benefits to your buyer in your ideal win-win deal? And how can you put money values on those benefits? Do that exercise now. The next thing is, what is the maximum price you can defend? What is the minimum price you will accept? And looking at the variables that you listed earlier on, how many different ways can you package this deal? The more ways you have to package the deal, the more flexible you can be without changing the bottom line price. You need to have all of these worked out long before you sit down with the buyer. The message here is never go into a negotiation blind. Do your homework. Don't rely on winging it or thinking on your feet. In fact, if you're going into a tough negotiation, I would advise you to even role-play it with a colleague or your boss. Next questions are, what do you know about the buyer, his, her company, his, her negotiating tactics and style? What were the outcomes of previous negotiations? You may want to consider, where is the best place to negotiate? Do you want to be at home, away, or on neutral ground? Will you negotiate alone or as a team? If as a team, who's going to do what? And what about an agenda? Remember, the agenda is a great source of power. First of all, if there is no agenda, there's no agreed framework, and you may leave without covering some important aspects. If you prepare the agenda, then you control what is covered, what is not covered, and the order in which items are covered. And it also enables you to chair the meeting and bestows position power on you. So if you're preparing for a negotiation, do your ideal agenda now. If the other party prepares the agenda, remember the agenda is negotiable. While we're talking about power, who has the power in the negotiation? Well, salespeople often believe that the buyer has all the power. But remember, people in business have to do business. What are buyers paid for? What is their job? Now, I know their job is to get the best price, but they're called buyers because they have to buy. That's their job. They have to buy things. They're not paid to just have coffee with salespeople. They're paid to buy the products and services that the company must have to remain profitable and in business. The power is often perceived power. If you think the buyers have the power, then you're dead right, because you gave it to them. The truth is, they are probably under as much pressure to buy as you are to sell. If you're going to win this negotiation, you'll win it twice. You'll win it once in your mind before you go, and once in the negotiation when you get there. So win the order before you go. Now let's look at some of the characteristics of a successful negotiator. Number 1, quietly confident. Number 2, looks for the long-term win-win. Number 3 is flexible. Number 4 looks for agreement at every stage, even to the extent that they may say, I agree, we see things differently. Number 5 is creative, always looking for and using variables. Number 6 separates the people from the purpose. Number 7 is in control of emotions. Number 8 has limited authority. Now you may be thinking, hang on a minute, if I'm in a negotiation, I want to have the authority to negotiate any deal I want to negotiate. No. Great negotiators always arrange to have limited authority. Think about it. Buyers are doing this to you all the time. They're saying, I'm not authorized to spend that much. I don't have that much in the budget. And you can do exactly the same. You're in a much stronger position if you can say, I'm not authorized to do that. If you're the managing director, you can say you have to check with your fellow directors. We know that great negotiators have to go back for permission. We know that union leaders say, I'll have to take this back to my members. Don't set yourself up as all-powerful. Leave room to back off via limited authority. Okay, we've arrived. We're about to start the meeting. Allow time for rapport building and social graces. And then open with a statement that sets the scene for the meeting. I attended a meeting once, and the opening words were these. Ladies and gentlemen, we're here to argue about the outstanding invoices. And what do you think happened? That's right, they argued about the outstanding invoices. Why? Because the chairperson said, we're here to argue about the outstanding invoices. A better opening statement would have been, we're here to reach agreement on how we can reduce the number of outstanding invoices. Have your warm-up, make a good opening statement, and agree the agenda. Now, I suggest that the agenda is structured to invite the other party to open with their position. Great negotiators know you should always see the other person's cards before you play your hand. If you're in luck, they're going to be asking for less than you thought you were going to have to give. If not, then you're going to have to start earning your money as the successful sales negotiator. Don't focus on price. Restate your understanding of their position. State your position in terms of benefits to them. State how you see their current position and how your offer will be the ideal solution. And remember the motivators: security, leisure, pleasure, pride, and profit. Focus on the benefits and stay away from price at this stage. Your strategy should be number 1, defend the price. Number 2, don't change the price, change the package. And number 3, trade variables. Let's start with defending price. You may say something like, I understand that you're keen to get the very best deal. And that's exactly what you're getting with this offer. Now I'll use the example of a house. You're looking for 5 bedrooms, and it has 5 bedrooms. You wanted a view of the river, and it has a view of the river. You wanted 2 bathrooms, and it has 2 bathrooms, both with shower facilities. Relate your offer to their specific needs. Don't get drawn into price. And if your luck's in, you might get the order at this stage. Or you might get, it's too expensive. Now, a poor negotiator will drop his price at this stage. It's interesting to note, though, that there may be something else going on here. In a survey of professional buyers, it was identified that 72% of the time, when they said to the salesperson, you're too expensive or there's not enough money in the budget, it wasn't the real reason why they weren't placing the order at that stage. So let's say that your product is $20,000, and the reason that the buyer is not buying at this stage is because they're concerned about the amount of money that they would have to put into spare parts. So the buyer says, how much is it? You say 20,000. He's concerned about the amount of money he has to put into spare parts, and he says to you, no, you're too expensive. What do you think the poor negotiators do? That's right, they lower their price. So the salesperson plays with the calculator and says, well, I could do something on that. Maybe I could get the price down to 19,000. Now my question is, has the concern about the parts availability gone away? And of course the answer is no. So the buyer says, no, you're still too expensive. So the salesperson says, well, let me have another look at the figures, and, we could come down to 18,000. So we went from 20 to 19 to 18. My question is, has the concern about the parts gone away? And the answer is no. But is the buyer enjoying himself? And the answer is yes, he's having a great time. So now he says, I'll tell you what, if you give me a free consignment of spare parts, then we could start talking about getting down to a realistic price. Now the salesperson's on the rack. When the buyer says you're too expensive, a good gambit would be to say, apart from price, are there any other reasons why we couldn't do business today? What you're doing is smoking out all of the other objections before you budge on price. And very often, if you can allay the concerns on the availability of parts, you may not have to budge on price at all. You must get these things on the table. If you don't, you leave yourself open to what's called the nibble. And that goes something like this. I want a lower price. Yes, okay. And I want consignment stock. Yes, okay. And I want free installation. Yes, okay. And nibble, nibble, nibble. And the profit's going like sand out of a leaky bucket. Other gambits are, 1. If we could agree price, would you go ahead now? If he says no, then it's probably not price that's stopping the deal. Number 2, is price your only concern? Number 3, in relation to what? Number 4, apart from price, where are your real costs? 5, if price wasn't an issue, would you be happy to go ahead? 6, tell me why do you think it's expensive? 7, are you saying that if we can't come down to that price, we can't do business? 8, Mr. Buyer, your company's only going to buy one of these machines in the next 10 years. And you do want it to be the safest and most reliable you can get, don't you? Why don't you take it? 9, quality and reliability are remembered long after price is forgotten. And you do want the best quality and reliability you can get, don't you? Why don't you take it? If your luck's in, he will. But what about if the buyer says he's had a better offer? Well, the first thing to do is to check validity. Here are some questions that you may ask. Tell me, what exactly have you been offered? What model is that? What is included in their offer? What level of support are you guaranteed with that? Tell me, what are their performance figures? What are their running costs? What concerns you about their offer? Tell me, out of interest, why didn't you accept that offer? Given that you know we can't get down to that price, what were you looking for in terms of quality and reliability that you haven't already been offered? There are far too many responses and gambits for us to cover in one program. What you should do is take the concept of each section and rewrite the list to suit your specific product, service, and situation. Now you know what the buyer has been offered, you can use your own and competitive knowledge to point out the value added of your offer. State the benefits and do a trial close. The buyer may give you the order. Or he may say, no, you're still too expensive. You could then go on to using comparison questions. Tell me, what's more important to you, the price of the equipment or its ability to do the job over the next 5 years? If you're selling cotton to a shirt manufacturer, you could say, tell me what's more important to you, the price of the cotton or the quality of the finished product. If you're selling advertising space, it could be, what's more important to you, the price of the ad or your company image and the quality of your inquiries. Another one could be, what's more important to you, today's price or a good, reliable backup service with guaranteed response time for the next 5 years? Again, you should take this concept, rewrite the list to suit your own product, service, and situation. At the end of this, the buyer might say, "Yes, you're right, I'll take it." Or he might say, "You're still too expensive." You could now respond with, "You know, Mr. Buyer, if you cut back on the quality of your raw materials, sooner or later you cut back on the quality and service you give your customers. And they provide the real profit in your business, don't they? Why don't we do it?" The buyer may now move to good guy, bad guy, which goes something like this. "Well, you know, Mike, it's probably a good product, but, I've got to get the best deal I can. And Mr. McMean, our financial director, is making big cutbacks." Many salespeople, again, will cave at this point. The buyer's setting himself up as good guy with the financial director as bad guy. The buyer's also using the limited authority gambit. The thing to remember is this. It's a buying signal. What he's saying is, I do want to buy the product, I just don't want to pay the price. Because if he didn't want to buy the product, he would end the meeting, wouldn't he? And it would be all over. So what can you do? Well, there are a number of things. Again, you could check for validity. You could respond with, "Well, if you're happy with it and all we've got to do is to convince Mr. McMean, why don't we go and see him now? I'd be happy to cover many of the money-saving features with him." Or you could play to his ego. "I understand that Mr. McMean wants the very best deal he can get. But if he believed that you had negotiated that deal, he would support you as the buyer, wouldn't he?" The buyer may now say that if you want the business, you're going to have to come down on price. It's another buying signal. Unfortunately, many salespeople think that now is the time to go in with a rock-bottom price. But why? If you were that far out and he didn't want the product, he'd end the meeting, wouldn't he? It's another buying signal. It may be time for you to make a gesture. Now, I didn't say give the shop away. I said make a gesture. But before you do that, remember a good negotiator wants to see the other hand before he plays any cards. So you may say, "How far out are we?" The buyer may respond with £2,300. Your response could be, "Given that I can't match that, how close do I have to get?" And you may be pleasantly surprised with the response. And you might strike a deal at this stage. If you don't, then you may move to the next stage, which is change the package, not the price. You could say, "I understand we all have budgets to work to. Tell me, how can we change your specification so that we can get down to your budget?" If you're selling interior decorating, you could say, "If we change the wood from solid oak to veneer, that would save you $2,000. We could go from stain-resistant material to the standard. That would save you another $600. Why don't we do that? You would safeguard the overall appearance and save £2,600 and come in under budget." Put your hand out and hope he shakes it and confirms the deal. The trick here is change the package, not the price. The buyer may give you an order, or he may decide to move to splitting the difference. He may say, "I tell you what, Mike, why don't you offer to meet me halfway?" Now this is another buying signal. Do you want to meet him halfway? I don't know. If you want 10 max and your minimum is 8, and you're acceptable as 9, if he opened up at 8, then halfway between 8 and 10 is 9, and that may be an okay deal. However, if he started with what we call a shock opening, which means that his initial offer was only 5, then halfway between 5 and 10 is only 7.5, and that's not a good deal. Many negotiators will tell you to do this. If he's at 8 and offers to meet you halfway, you say, "Thank you very much for that offer, and I do appreciate it. However, my sales director would kill me if I sold it at 9. But I might be able to meet you halfway between 9 and 10. I think I could probably talk him into that one. Why don't we do it?" Now, what have you done? You've split the difference twice. And you've used your limited authority gambit because you weren't authorized to take it at 9. The buyer may now move to trading. I can go to 9.5 if you can give me free delivery. You respond with, as you know, free delivery is a real cost. I could do that if you could double the size of your order. That way you could save 2 lots of delivery, and I could square it with my boss. Limited authority gambit. What you're doing here is trading variables, which is why it's so important that you understand how many variables you have and how you can use them. The trick here is to trade by giving something that is worth more to the buyer than it actually costs you. Now, I had this done to me. I have a mail order business, and I was negotiating the price of a database containing named buyers and full postal address. The salesperson offered me a price, and I said I could get it cheaper. There was an offer and a counter-offer, and we were moving closer to a deal. I said, if you're serious about doing business with us, you're going to have to do better than that. Now, the salesperson was a good negotiator and knew that you should always get the other side to name the figure. She said, how much better do I have to do? I said, you're going to have to come down another £500. Not expecting for 1 minute that she would, but working on the theory that if I could split the difference to £250 and then split the difference again, I would get her down by about another £300 to £400. So I've asked for £500, and if she gives me £500, the cost to her company is £500. Now, negotiated money is bottom line money. If her company makes 5% net profit, she's going to have to bring in another deal of something like £10,000 to get £500 profit to cover the discount that she's going to give on this deal. So, she wants the deal. She knows that I've got to save face. She doesn't want to give me £500, but she doesn't want to leave without an order. So she goes on to say, Mike, if we can reach agreement, can you give me an order now? Now that's a good move. Why? Because if she hadn't done that, she may have been subject to the nibble. She may have given me £500 and then I may have asked for free delivery. She may have given me free delivery and I may have gone on to ask for extended credit. I said, yes, Susan, if we can reach agreement, I will give you an order now. She's also removed my limited authority gambit. She went on to say, OK, Mike, if you agree the price that we're now at, I will give you £500 worth of extra names and addresses. That way, you get another £500 worth of contacts, plus the extra profit you get from any increased sales resulting from your mailer. And I can justify it with my boss. When would you like them delivered? What has she done? She's qualified me. She's removed my limited authority. She's created a situation where I can win and she doesn't have to lose. I've got something that's worth at least £500 to me, plus any extra profit and new customers coming in for my mailer. And how much does it cost her to give me the extra contacts? Little or nothing, it's already on her database. A simple but clear example of change the package, not the price, being aware of trading variables, creating a win-win situation, and negotiating a deal that both parties are happy to honour. Many salespeople fear price, but remember, negotiating is a game. Remember, the best way to negotiate a good deal is to have lots of deals to choose from. Keep feeding your production line, follow the principles outlined in this program, and you will enjoy negotiating price for the game that it is. And you will become a truly successful sales negotiator. My name is Mike Leput. Thank you for listening, and I wish you every success.
If you're in business, why not train your team as a team? Every day, dynamic companies are tapping into the power of their people. Your staff have ideas, energies and enthusiasm that can benefit your business. Our job at MLP Training is to help you develop your team and your business to new levels of job satisfaction and company profits. Training your team as a team will mean focusing on the needs of your people, your market and the success of your company. Why not call today to arrange a meeting? 01204 888826. Alternatively, if you've enjoyed this programme and you're in sales, dial the same number 01204 888826 and ask for details of how to sell and smash targets every month. Or purchase online from www.mlptraining.co.uk.